Blockchain. And I'm Rafuka, now the new director. Good to see you here. And very happy to meet our friends here.
Okay.
Hello everyone, my name is Readiness. I am ambassador of your Stellar Europe, and it's really a pleasure to meet you. I think I made it.
Hi everyone, my name is Martin. I'm the founder and CEO of Decentralized, Stablecoin of USD. Based out of Vienna here. It's thought of as a decentralized nation, so it would be an example of an unregulated stablecoin because we live and breathe on the Ethereum blockchain directly, so we're permissionless, transparent, and decentralized.
First question directly to you, Martin. We've now heard about the fully regulated approach that Simon, Alex, and the whole Unity team have been taking, especially with a focus on Germany, because of course there were various teams that made up their minds about where should we get regulation, where should we get our headquarters. What do you see as an opportunity for permissionless stablecoins? Apart from, let's say, the ideology behind it, I think everybody is supporting it, but with the regulatory constraints that are coming closer, what's your return perspective?
Yeah, but generally I think regulation is not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. Regulation is also required wherever trust is required, trust in a third party. So it makes total sense that stablecoin issuers are regulated. In our case, we don't need to trust a third party though, so that is the unique way how we are set up, because you can verify on chain in a trustless way that the stablecoin is fully reserved. And you can mint it yourself by interacting with the smart contract, and you can also burn it from the smart contract. So you don't even have to trust us. You could shut off all our servers, cease to exist as a company. It will still work with other blockchain. So in our case, this is a niche, yes, a niche of people who prefer trust, cryptographic proof over regulated entities. And I believe there is a role for companies like us. Will probably not be listed on the European exchange anytime soon, because we are not the issuer. We cannot file for a white paper, file for all the licenses that we need to go through compliance. But for people who want financial sovereignty, for a decentralized nation, I believe we are the perfect solution.
Lauter reden oder lauter machen? Kannst du noch ein bisschen drehen? Volume? Okay, ich take lauter. Next question to all of you, but maybe starting with Simon. We've now heard about those different approaches, and from a blockchain association's perspective, I think it's not up to us if we lobby in Berlin or Brussels to say we should focus on stablecoins, we should focus on CBDCs, we need the best tech and good solutions in Europe, otherwise we will have problems with our European sovereignty. So that's number one. But how do you look at the rest of the playing field? You mentioned CBDCs. I'm pretty convinced as a political scientist that Europe will stick to CBDC plans. I think it's the best way to code our constitution into money. But how do you see the other players in the market? Especially since you're also targeting the German industry with your product. Simon, what's your take on the playing field?
I mean, there are many discussion points in terms of what solutions could be out there potentially, right? So we're discussing CBDC, digital euro, stablecoins, unregulated, regulated, whatsoever. The factual basis are very, very different from what we discuss. The factual basis is that 99.95% of the whole payment on-chain market, so to say, is dominated by PS platform. So every other discussion for me is a side discussion, to be honest, because it's a theoretical discussion, and they can be very entertaining. Yeah? But to solve problems, I need to look at the practical issues. And I think for Europe, the practical issue is that it's 99.99% stablecoin or on-chain markets dominated by PS. And the funny thing is, when we think back, how did the MiCA evolve? The MiCA started in 2019 with discussions because people feared MiCA, the Facebook stablecoin. And they were like, ooh, the US big tech is going to own the market. We're going to prevent it by regulation. Look at the market today. The market is completely overrun by US big tech. It's just not Facebook, it's newcomers. But besides that, it's not that they are knocking on our door. They are sitting on the sofa and enjoying the meal.
You also have US experts and on Liquidity. I think I remember you saying last week, well, they understand business plans, they invest. Question to you, Mansour, how is it? Either is Singapore founded to move to Dubai? So even though everybody says Asia is the most largest place in crypto, what can we do about stablecoin backed to international currencies? What's happening in the Asian space, and what's your recipe for Europe?
Yeah, actually by the international exchange. Now we are by the EU. So I think when I answer the question, I will definitely from the EU perspective. Since we are regulated and under the MiCA, we can follow the stablecoin policy. Currently, to be honest, I can feel two challenges in front of us. The first one is the liquidity of stablecoin, especially for the license of stablecoin.
But you could help with that. So it's a new circle did with Coinbase. Is it a template for you with those MiCA stablecoins? Could you help them to grow, or?
Actually, I think the challenge for the whole industry, because liquidity is not dominated by one of the exchange. For all the license exchange, we need to think about how we can build up liquidity, not from retailers, also from institutions. All the institutions, by we need to think about this question, right? Second challenge is about payments. Let's say, currently, because we just have the first step, but how we can take the benefits of stablecoin is still a question. In EU it's different because I know Europeans are not so fans of Euro stablecoin. We all know that. We need to find the excuse how I can use it, what's the benefits I can use it. This time when I travel in Kazakhstan, I find some new opportunities. We can combine with import, export, this kind of business like our friend just mentioned. Maybe that's a good opportunity we can explore, but it's too early to say. We want to build up the bridge.
Quick follow-up to you, Simon. The main reason for dollar dominance in the stablecoin space, of course, interest rates weren't really allowed in Europe. Now with the Genius Act defined really well, we also don't have official interest rates. How do you judge the playing field? Is it now more leveled? Will we reach an equilibrium like the European space where we have 64% dollar dominance, or where are we heading?
So it's definitely far away from the playing field. And the reason is Genius Act will come into place early as 2028. So there's 3 years left to manifest the market dominance. Yeah? In a fully unregulated way.
But if we look at the interest rates being forbidden on paper, if I look at the Coinbase circle collaboration, it's more marketing budgets. It's stated like this. Do you think you could replicate a deal like this in Europe in similar ways, where you pay indirectly incentives to do things?
I mean, we see these things. I mean, that's something that you cannot deny. And we also know, I mean, you completely rightly pointed out the issue with the liquidity. But we also know that liquidity doesn't come from free, right? No one. So there is obvious some incentive mechanisms in place. Because otherwise it would not work at all. The question of interest, however, is difficult. Because to be honest, I mean, it would be more fair and transparent if it would be able to pay interest. because then there wouldn't be some years with more risk in it. And if you just pay out what is there. It's difficult. I think it doesn't help the market because there is no playing back field. If it would be, then of course the US dollar ones would pay out as well. Yeah? And then you wouldn't have the gain that wouldn't be there, like in terms of incentives. But it is there. So you can complain about it or play it off. That's the alternatives that you have.
Okay, always. You talked a little bit about seller and stablecoins. So far, you're mainly allowing or enabling the different legacy stablecoins on your network. Is that not pushing also for direct issuance of stablecoin projects on seller? Is this something you're pushing through grants or industry discussions?
Well, this is up to the developer, whether they want to do it directly on the ledger or if they want to use an intermediary to interact it. So, but yes, but this network does support, the developers that would like to build stablecoins and payment applications, remittances, which is like the very focus from setup to the very beginning. And it's session it was aimed to solve the stablecoins and payment issue. And that's what so the great focus on that. And additionally, they are like really open and vocal regarding the need for regulation. And this is the main reason. Thank you very much for the question. Yes, I mean, so the Decentralized work is, promoting the need for regulation. And it's something that, that they're very vocal. They have been speaking in Congress in the US. So, yeah, there's as well.
And some guys now focus on the European side of the business. The market now with MiCA and all international exchanges and trading platforms now is in Europe. It will be quite crowded. Do you think there's a decent strategy and a real differentiator in terms of go-to-market strategy will be necessary? And do you have something like this in your mind? Because just compete on prices and a feature here and a feature there might not be the winning strategy.
Exactly. I think that those market strategies is totally different. Let's say, compared with global, usually we have like our investment product to attract users. Then you can have high APR with like a stablecoin project. But if it's EU, because we cannot do that from EFT, so we need to think about how you can give the user rewards. That's basically the challenge as well, because stablecoin we cannot do that. It's not allowed, and they have a rating budget on it. So we will not only combine with interest as one of the benefits we can provide to users. Actually, for us, our strategy is combined with ecosystem to empower this kind of stablecoin project. So on one hand, we can use it to let users know what kind of work we can get from this project. Another one, combined with institutional business to make this loan and borrow this kind of interest to make it more interesting. Another one is our heart, because you need to spend with crypto. That's the latest topic. We combine with payments, which is stablecoin utilities to make the business. But it's different compared with global strategy.
Thank you for elaborating on this. Martin, you mentioned your, let's say, initial approach. How do you see community-focused projects like yours branching out? And do you have ideas and use cases how to collaborate with institutions as well, or do you bet on the community?
It's going to be a mix of obviously initially it's going to be consumers, and one of your not just we have for this we can actually properly incentivize our customers by, for example, just passing on the yields that Ether generates with the validated transactions. So a stablecoin holder in our protocol, you just get automatically whatever Ether yields annually. This could be anything between 4% to 5% in the bull market years. So from that perspective on, we will focus on the consumer, on people who value decentralization and trustlessness and competitiveness over having to trust the centralized party, the regulating party, hopefully. But then later on, yes, it will become a use case for institutions, especially most for crypto exchanges, maybe not in Europe first, but in Asia, for example, where we are a perfect trading pair with USDT because they're exchangeable into Ether. And we have already touched on the problem that a lot of stablecoins face is liquidity. And if you're as liquid as the second most liquid cryptocurrency by design, because you can swap into ETH with a smart contract form, but yeah, it leads to be a problem that a lot of players just have for them.
Okay, perfect. And Simon, before you have to run, maybe two questions to you. One may sound naive, but I think they want to do the best to give a good impression about Eurons plans for the audience. So you're also targeting the industry as, let's say, an oriented stablecoin solution. And you talked about the underlying assets that you have to aggregate because of MiCA. Wouldn't be the easiest way to form a cloud deal with banks and industry? And maybe you can talk a little bit about that. And then one of the biggest concerns from industry I've heard over the past 5-6 years, for example, a chemical company was once telling me they were waiting for European blockchain infrastructure, which we still don't have. We are getting 10,000 cyber attacks per day. And we don't need to talk about the hacks that happened earlier this year. We all know there are malicious actors out there. So do you talk about the cybersecurity aspect when you talk to industry and the benefits of stablecoins, or this is not a winning strategy because you might rather hold people back? What's your impression?
I mean, coming to the first question, we are doing collaborations with banks, and we have to. We have to have reserve banks. We do this, and they also have to pay them. They don't give us an account for free because they also want to earn money, which is totally fine. Used to work for
Where is solidarity?
Sorry?
Where is solidarity?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's okay. I mean, that's business and it's fine. Yeah, we will grow, and with the growth, we will have further reserve banks, and thereby also conditions will get better. It's a very natural development. It's totally fine. We are right now already on 3 reserve banks. If we reach significance, we have to be at 50 reserve banks. We are now also talking to large international banks for managing the reserves and also for the transactions. So onboarding, offboarding. This works also, for example, via virtual IBANs does. So the minting is being done via an institutional client sending us money to a virtual IBAN, and then this triggers the minting process. So we have to obviously work with banks, and we do this on the transaction banking and on the reserve banking side. With regards to cybersecurity, we had attacks as well already, of course. Yeah, and we also have them continuously. I think it is fair to mention them. I think it is fair to mention as well, I mean, we are also natively on-chain without further restrictions. So we are not working with a whitelist approach, we are completely permissionless. And the on-chain side is pretty stable and also pretty attack resistant, I would say. Especially on the established ones, on large like ones like Ethereum, obviously. Yeah. So on this part, I would say the transfer side, it's pretty secure. Yeah. And there is even maybe less potential attack vectors than in the classical systems.
You can feel that Simon is from the financial industry. If I talk about industry, he answers from the Frankfurt perspective. But if we talk about corporates like the Siemenses of the world, are there treasuries partners for you, or do you channel this through the banks that you are working with in the way you pointed out?
Treasurers will be clients of us for sure. That is my conviction. And the reason is they can use it for settlement means, for example, within large corporates, as I mentioned before, like the intercompany settlement in a large corporate structure is a very, very huge use case, but it will not replace the account, simply because we cannot bear interest, for example. And the treasury is very much oriented on optimizing liquidity, but also, of course, returns on the management side, the asset management side. So from an asset management perspective, we will not be used. From a cash management and liquidity perspective, I'm pretty much sure that we will be used. This will also reduce liquidity because otherwise it's not beneficial, on the cash management side. But I think it's a coexistence.
Always. Yeah, thanks a lot, Simon. Now a smaller one, timid round. Always. Let's look a little bit into the future and the same or a similar question to Masoka afterwards. Many real-world projects will be multi-chain by definition, because we will see more, let's say, specialized approaches also by chain by chain. And if I read you correctly, although you gave a list of use cases in your little survey before, Stellar is also pushing for adoption in the public sector. Is it for you a strategy to say, by focusing, for example, on the public sector, this is our entry door into multi-chain projects? Because, for example, every corporate will have to deal with the financial system, they will have to deal with digital product passports and supply chains, but they also will have to interface with the public sector. Is this the way you see the world emerging?
That's a great question. Thank you very much. The Stellar network is like I don't know, no big change that anyone so can be done. What I've seen in the future is that like the more institutions like utilize the Stellar network, there will be more liquidity, there will be more like a regulation, so ledgers. I think that like this is something like of course that is needed in order to allow growth. And like the Stellar network, of course, like can offer possibilities in many industries. Like the main focus is of course payments, but also like there is of course like it's stable coins. There is also, since like 1.5 years ago, they introduced smart contracts as well. So now it provides way more tools for developers to really like build DeFi like applications in a way that is fast and cost efficient. So I think like the Stellar network is like moving into that, like being faithful to its mission from its inception, but still open for innovation.
Masoka, if I look at the market or market developments and also at the member base that we have as an association, it's clear that ecosystems can raise money when they issue the tokens, and then there are gas fees. The trading platforms are now earning, if it's a good cycle, a lot of money typically. Vendors are still struggling. So looking at this, let's say, power dynamics, I see a role of market makers for you guys. If you say, these are the partnerships that we want to strike, and if we put money on the table or we ask for money, you are in a very dominant position and can leverage your power as a channel. What does it mean for you? Because I think there's a lot of responsibilities on the side of exchanges and trading platforms now with this dominant market position. Which are the good things that you can bring to a region like Europe that is certainly lagging behind in innovation? And also sometimes there's a lack of positivity in our region. So what's your recipe to lighten our faces up?
I think providers actually, due to our partnership and ecosystem, we are very happy to get support by all our partners. I think what you said is totally right. It's a big pressure on us to build it by ourselves. Working on the platform, We need to connect with the different like money maker, liquidity founders. Previously, we have a good connection with them. But when I come to Europe, I discuss with them, hey guys, why don't we build up together? Not only limited crypto, also stablecoin and crypto and also fiat. In that case, we can see some good potential connect with bank, fiat offering capability, with fiat the crypto liquidity, and especially for some of the local currencies. It can really help a lot to onboard the regular users, go to market, massive market. So I think in that ecosystem, market maker themselves, projects, and also the implementation on the platform, and like some of the liquidity partners, they can really work together with us to build it up. So it's not the only efforts by ourselves. I'm really appreciative for our partnerships.
And then a follow-up question also to you. In the last cycle, before the war broke out and we had the rising interest rates, when we still had zero interest rate time, a lot of private smaller banks were really struggling in Europe. We had a few ambitions by crypto exchanges to buy banks. Big banks was buying it in Germany and then they dropped it last minute. Now with interest rates going down.
A little bit louder, please. Please.
I was just saying down, so I can't go. Just joking. By the way, you have to tell us when we should go for a pause. We can go on forever. I'm not sure about your agenda still. Okay, not listening. The question was, we almost saw a takeover of private banks by crypto exchanges 3-4 years ago. And now interest rates are going down, which will mean that some banks will again be in trouble. Is this a growth strategy also for yourselves to go deeper into the value chain, to build out your business, or do you more bet on product and service innovation just out of your own strength? Any ideas?
Yeah.
We will not hold you responsible for no official answers, just your personal.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer because for that, fighting is always transparent. Our strategy is clear for two directions. The first direction is building the ecosystem, like I emphasize a lot. And secondly, when it comes to Europe, definitely it's the localization. So we are a local exchange for now. It's impossible for us to buy all the banks. We are not so rich, and it's not a good investment to spend a lot of money from the very beginning and spend a lot of business. So our strategy is we want to build up connections with all the banks. In EU, the banking system is kind of, I kind of feel like it have a different center. It's not like they are all European banks. It's not like French bank, German bank, and these European banks. They have totally different attitudes. When we want to build up a good user journey for them, the first step is definitely we want to build up connection. Also, building up a clear system, making it easier for our users. That's the first step. The second step, we will have some good partnership with our banks. Collaborate closely with our product, provide more utilities with clients. That's a good strategy. Yeah, that's our directions.
Do you have a one-size-fits-all approach for Europe, or do you focus on the legal markets first? What's your approach for those markets?
We usually have a different kind of strategy. One thing is focus on some of the revenue contribution markets, and also some the business market we may already have a good brand awareness. Some of the potential countries, like these European countries, maybe we didn't show off before. They have less heard of that. I think that's also the good direction for us to step into make an official introduction. So for these two type of markets, I think that can be very interesting for us.
Okay, Martin, what's your take on Spain? Essentially, you're global by definition, of course, being based on Ethereum. Do you see local focus areas where adoption is happening faster than elsewhere? And do you have an explanation for that? Is it correlated to community efforts, or which kind of movements are you expecting?
So yeah, generally I think for the entire stablecoin industry, so mentioned us our approach, emerging markets are an topic. Simply because the local currencies often don't work as intended or lose a lot of their worth or value over time. and people prefer to store their wealth or savings in stable currency, in the dollar. By
For similar stuff. Always. How do you approach those customers and citizens that are endangered? Do you have any marketing communication strategies? Is it via the UN or do you collaborate with opposition in those markets, and how dangerous?
So the Stellar Development Foundation works closely with many agencies of the UN. One example that comes out of my mind is, to facilitate value transfer of payments to hospital staff, and let's say in places where there are many limitations politically and exactly. So it is about facilitating the flow of a payment and efficiency in the financial area for hospitals, and it is really a challenging places. And so German institutions like I said also works with Stellar in this regard. So yeah.
By the way, we're happy to continue with this. In the meantime, raise your hands if you have any questions. Not yet. There's one question. Okay, let me bring you the mic. Also state who you are. That makes the discussion a little bit more interactive.
Hi, I'm Dominic. Interested in stablecoins. Maybe the question was for the gentleman who already left, but curious as well your opinion. He mentioned that stablecoins can be a safe haven for, let's say, unstable currency regimes like Argentina. And I was curious on the opinion on this. Seems to contradict the need to be regulated. So I was surprised that he mentioned that, as it seemed to contradict the need for regulation. I was curious in details.
Yes, there is a contradiction, but of course he was talking about stablecoins in general. And even though they focus on the regulated industry regime in Germany, I think he made a good point. So do you see it as a contradiction? And also if we talk about, let's say, countries that are endangered, because typically we don't talk about Argentina, we talk about cycles. So there might be a bad government, or there might be a civil war or a different situation. Now we see even the US making strange moves. So is it a contradiction for you, or are you very pragmatic and you say there's a region in the world where there are problems and we try to go there?
Yes, it's like, I don't think that there is a contradiction. Actually, I think it's actually one of the reasons why it is so much stable ones. For example, like we're talking about an economy that is having macroeconomic situation where they're having devaluation of the currency and so on. Going for a stable solution that facilitates the transfer of value, the purchase of services without deteriorating the value. It is something that is on the interest of individuals. So regulation, even though of course it has its sides, I think it's the best way that we have to actually have impact in the industry. Well, what do I mean with that? And we're discussing about it more. Standards are really important. And if we focus on developing standards, focus on solving real world problems, and do it in a way that is integrated seamlessly into the daily routine, like any worker or tax authority person, then we will be to a point where adoption will start to take off.
Let's also talk about the effect of global politics on businesses. Mazorka, your headquarters at least is registered in Dubai, and we also know the let's say, rise that the Emirates have taken, and even though there's still a bit of criticism, I think now they are reasonable guys compared to the East and the West. So do you think this will bring the Emirates and Europe closer together, the global political situation? Does it make us natural allies and will it help the whole business?
Actually, as a woman, I don't want to comment on politics.
Okay, yeah, that's
But-
a fair point.
Yeah, but I
Just
think from
from a
business
business
perspective, it's interesting because usually you monitor the stablecoin market, always there's a movement, there's a chance, especially like I said, currently, because you will have different stablecoin policy, and license stablecoin, you can definitely see it's not only limited with the retailers, and like institution, business, and we are looking forward to that because there is money movement. Sometimes the special relationship will cause new business into different jurisdictions. EU and UAE currently that's not our business path, but I'm looking for it.
Okay, in the meantime, before we collect some last questions, the closing question from my side is if you would let us know what is your wish list for your business and your solutions, where would you like to be in 3 years? You told us a little bit about the niche you're in and let's say about everything global reach that you have. So what's your dream? Why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm a big believer personally in equality of opportunity. I don't think this works anymore. Inequality of opportunity, thank you. Not inequality of outcomes, but in giving everyone the same shot at being successful. And you can only have that if you are financially sovereign. And this is something that I personally want to contribute to. I think this is a big innovation that crypto as a whole has provided humankind with. As in, for the first time in history, you can, like, as an individual, really own something that nobody can take away from you, provided you can remember your wallet investors and your radar. But essentially, it's uncensorable and it cannot be seized. So it's the most empowering tool that we as humankind have received in the last hundreds of years, I would say. And ideally, can contribute with my projects to helping people, especially in authoritarian regimes in emerging markets, or people who want to work and live in DeFi and make their money there with the trustless and permissionless solution. And yeah, if we reach, like, say, 100,000 wallets that use our stablecoin, I will be very happy.
Keeping my fingers crossed, at least, on this, if you look at Stellar, you mentioned where you want to go, what would be on top of your wish list for the European chapter of Stellar?
Yes, that's a good question. We were actually also mentioning, like the for multi-chain, ideas in order to bring as many, ledger ones, they can bring them to the network so they can implement their very own stable coins. I think this is something that is very important for the network, for the growth, for its future potential. And here in Europe, of course, like it's very, very, necessary to, to partner up and, get together with policy makers, with institutions, with companies, with individuals. A lot of education in order to increase, let's just say, for instance, like a metric that can use the number of, the issues of stable coins on the network, So, yeah, of course, like multiply it by 15 if possible, So, yeah, and of course, like to bring as many European projects as possible.
Okay, thanks. And Matsuoka, I assume you want to grow your customer base and make them happy. But which are your next steps? Which kind of services and products will you add in the near future to reach those solutions?
I'm very happy to share our mission actually. First of all, that is always aiming to changing the world. That means make the people's life easier and make people's life better. In that case, I want to really build up the crypto hub here, especially for stablecoin payments, make a lot of miracles, and I want to do it. And for Binary product, we have advantages as always on product side. Because the people working hard beside of it, we want to provide comprehensive, like infrastructure, financial infrastructure, financial instrument to all the clients. Not only limited with professional traders, but also for the massive market. And now since we have license, we have the opportunity to do that. So I'm really looking forward to this. Different types of product, you already see our plan launched. I think that's a good sign, and we will definitely have different steps.
Okay, then good luck to all of you. Let's collaborate on educating politicians and also the industry, the economy. I think that's needed. We've come a long way in only 5-6 years of stablecoins emerging as a use case. Of course, at least in terms of awareness, the US policy is helpful these days. I don't fully share the Simon statement earlier. So I think we're living in dangerous times. Please keep in mind if you work on stablecoins, especially that we had a boom with interest rates, so there's always makes the life of new products easier. So we will see in the next squeeze cycle how things are evolving. Of course, the big exchange platforms are well positioned. Also, the small independent ones that can grow organically are well positioned. I wish also the best of luck to Stellar with their efforts, because one of our problems in Europe has been, of course, the public sector has been moving very slowly, not only in terms of turning products out, but also in terms of understanding where we are heading. So we certainly had a wake-up call. I'm really curious to see where we will be on your side. I hope to meet again here in Vienna. And let's move for a coffee break, and I'm sure you have additional questions. Let's take it outside there, outside here. And I wish you a nice evening at the conference, and see you later. Thank you.
Yeah, that's